Good morning, and welcome back to the News from the Real World podcast. I'm Quinn.
I'm Jess.
I'm Jody.
And this week we're starting it off with a little article about RNJ. Take it away, Jody.
RNJ, you're reading Romeo and Juliet wrong. You're supposed to hate Romeo. This is a student pick from geekosystem.com. Slow that name. By Glenn Tickle. So basically the gist of this article was about...
I'm already rolling my eyes already.
Was this one guy's opinion about how Romeo is really just a royal D-bag, and we're not supposed to like him, and the thousands of overdone interpretations of this story where we feel so bad for these two young lovers and their unrequited story is just darn right incorrect. We had some mixed opinions from our readers this week. Many people were like, oh yeah, this is a great interpretation, he's totally right.
A great misinterpretation.
Yeah, it's a great, unique viewpoint.
You know what?
I don't want to see that production that this guy would have that interpretation. It wouldn't work.
It wasn't even like some scholar or anything. Wasn't it just like a guy talking to his buddy?
You know what?
And he's like, no, this is what it is. And it was like...
Anybody with an internet connection and an opinion becomes an expert, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, it's not that this guy is wrong, let's be honest. He's entitled to his opinion.
There are many different ways you can
opinions
read
are
Shakespeare, and...
He's also entitled to my opinion, and my opinion is he's wrong.
The play doesn't work if you don't believe in the passion and love of the two main characters.
I thought
it
it was
doesn't
really
work.
just stretching all of those metaphors. I was like, no, I don't really think that's how that works.
And Shakespeare's making a rumination on young love. Yes, in the first moment you meet Romeo, he's in love with Rosalind, and then he sees Juliet and he's in love with her. You know, it's that, but that's Shakespeare commenting on the passions of youth.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that before, right? How Romeo is just kind of like a teenage little hornball.
Everything's huge when you're that age.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't like how the author of this particular article said, oh, you know, Juliet gets a pass because she's 13.
Yeah, but
Romeo's
only 15.
Yeah, Romeo's like 15 or 16. He doesn't get a pass. Aren't we all excused for the stupid things we do when you're that age?
Yeah.
At 13, she's arguably more mentally mature than he is at 15.
Right. Well, what do the readers think? Do they agree with us?
You know what? I pulled a comment from Camille Roylich, who says, since the moral of the play is basically that you shouldn't rush into love and relationships or everyone will die, Romeo being the bad guy corroborates that conclusion. And I couldn't agree more, Camille.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
So moving on to something fun, I
Different
guess.
interpretations.
Yes. They're doing a Back to the Future musical in London. This is from the NewYorkTimes.com, Arts Beat. It's a student pick. Back to the Future, musical plan for London opening by Alan Kazin. So basically in 2015 they're opening Back to the Future the musical, and it's gonna have some of the same creative forces behind the movie, like Bob Zemeckis and Bob Gale, who wrote the film, and it's gonna have new music and lyrics by Glenn Ballard. But they're also going to incorporate
with those two songs. I read
they're
that.
going to incorporate Johnny B. Good and Power of Love.
Yeah.
Huey Lewis and the News. Power of Love. Takes me back to my youth. I was 7 years old when that movie came out. 8 years old. Sorry. And
I feel like that was like one of my favorite movies to watch with my dad.
best summer movie of 1985. Let me tell you.
I'm not gonna lie, I have never seen any of the Back to the Future movies.
What's wrong with you, Jess?
They're so good though.
They're great.
I
They're
always end
hilarious.
up watching like the same scenes on cable when they repeat, and then I get.
Oh, it's so good. And you know, like as I've gotten older, the second part, which was the kind of like critically derided part, I actually think is more complex and brilliant than any of them.
I was wondering, I was wondering why they're doing this, why they're premiering it, debuting it in London. Do you think it's going to be more successful in London than it would here?
I know those movies were worldwide hits, so
yeah.
Maybe they just figured that the London stage isn't quite as not quite as prominent as the American stage in case it's just a total bomb. You know, it's like what they did with the Phantom of the Opera sequel. You know, they premiered it over a season and it didn't work and it never came here. But this is probably going to be bad. Let's face it. I mean, I can't picture anybody but Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd in those two parts.
That's true.
That's true.
Whoa, Doc! Nobody's gonna have that squeaky voice, you know.
That's true.
Or that
See, I'm thinking there's actually a lot of potential for like the suspension of disbelief, which is much easier to achieve in a theater than in a movie.
Well, one nice thing about this material is that there's an inherently cheesy quality to it that might translate in a fun way to the musical forum. Apparently the production's going to include illusions, whatever that means.
Illusions of stranger?
Skateboarding, and many other, this is a direct quote from the article, many other surprises that will capture the spirit of the film, but freshly interpret it for a new audience.
I'm scared about what that means.
I have no idea. But they also said that they have not said whether or not they'll do a musical versions of the second and third part.
Sequels.
Yeah. Simone Z. Warren says, or Zwerin says, just because a movie is good does not mean that it needs to be a musical, and that's all in caps. Oh my goodness, I will keep posting this comment when relevant until I die. You keep it up, Simone. All I have to say really is that I hope the musical stays true to the quirkiness and creativity of the movie. Couldn't agree with you more. I like that the musical is planning on including music from the original movie. That is all about keeping the feel of the 80s style. I sure as heck hope that they keep it in the 1980s. That would be really disappointing if they change it to present day. That's my only note for you, Bob Zemeckis. Don't take it out of the 1980s. So, Jess, of course, you got the lighting article this week.
Of course I got the lighting article.
Tell us about. Actually, I love this lighting article. It might be my favorite of the year.
Oh,
It's fun.
This was an advertisement. This was an advertisement.
It's cool,
it was not an
though.
article. Okay. The article is called Lightpads Center and Backstage. It's an editor pick from Roscoe.com by Joel. No last name.
Just Joel.
Just Joel.
Maybe it's Joel.
And basically it was just an article outlining some of the uses that recent productions have had for Roscoe's light pads, which come in multiple sizes. They're like little squares, and they're literally just like squares of light, and they light up. They can run off a battery pack, they can run off a dimmer, and yeah. Some of the uses included a backlit lock rail at UC Berkeley's Zellerbach Hall.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Books that glow from the inside and an uplight.
We did that. Okay, hold please. We did that last year in Spring Awakening without these little glow pads.
Yes, we did, and let's get there.
Okay.
Other uses were computer monitors that glow and a backlit scenic unit that brought Mufasa's image up through the river in The Lion King, which I thought that was kind of cool.
I just liked the book.
My problem with this is this whole article was just use Roscoe light pads, and then at the bottom it was like you can use a lot of other things to create the same effect. And it's like, well, for a lot cheaper, and I wonder how bright the light pads are too if they're not connected to a dimmer. Like this backlit lock rail, can you imagine like looking at this light shining in your face every time you try and unbreak a line set?
Yeah, I guess that's
that would be really, really obnoxious.
I guess like the dimmer is like the key thing. The fact that you can like change its intensity is the appeal, right?
I've seen these light pads before, and they're pretty bright. So if you don't have them on a dimmer, they've gotta like not be comfortable to stare into.
It seemed like they had that one picture of the actor with the book open, and I guess they had the lighting embedded inside the book so that it illuminated their face, and it looked kind of cool, I thought.
It's a cool effect.
I didn't think it was particularly... Well. Oh, see, I disagree. I didn't think it was particularly flattering. They marketed it as flattering. I was like, that looks creepy.
Well, one of our comments, Chris Norville says, the effect of using the light pad inside the book to light the actor's face I think works really well. I, however, think that some of these applications could be just as easily done with less expensive and non-Roscoe products, especially in the case of the lock rail lighting. So
well, they're on
it's one of those, you know, like there's so many other ways to do this. Why does it have to be a really, really expensive Roscoe product that may not necessarily work for your need?
Truth.
I should take you with me next time I go lighting shopping, Jess.
A lifetime ago.
Well, that concludes this, as I awkwardly ask Jess out on a date to go lighting shopping with me. This concludes this segment of the News from the Real World podcast. I'm Quinn.
I'm Jess.
I'm Jody.
Join us for segment 2.
Hold on a second. How is this different from last week when you like awkwardly hit on her during the podcast too?
What are you talking about?
That?
Yeah, you did.
Aw,
What?
I was really tired last week too.
I was too.
Yeah. He did everything shy of ask you for your number right on podcast.
What are you talking about? What did I do?